Hello everyone and welcome. So in this video I wanted to break down how I did the simple material of cobblestones that are like randomized and don't collide with each other. I'm not sure how they approach this kind of material in Substance Designer, but in Houdini is not as easy as it seems because, for example, if I create the different variation of the rocks, which I did here, and then I import them and try to apply, for example, with the scatter shapes. Uh, as soon as I increase the jitter, as you can see, they will go over each other. And I had to find a solution for this. It's quite a bit of work, but hopefully you'll get the idea. So let's get into it. So the first thing I'm doing in here is just creating the different variations. So in this case, I chose 4 and they look something like this. Well, I still did some things to it and they look more like this. Let me get rid of this 3-point lighting. So they look something like this. Then I will have more effects on top. Then what I do is that I bring, this is a night map, and I bring, with a remap node, I create a mask. And this is what I will export to sops to isolate each rock and bring it as a new cop layer. So that's what I'm doing in this subnet. So you can create a subnet in cops, go inside, and since we don't have loops, for loops in cops, so we have to do this in subs, but it's simple. So let's dive first into the copnet. So I have the 4 variations, then I'm isolating each tile based on the iteration, doing just the math to divide these into 4 tiles, into 4 sections I mean. Then I extract the different rocks based on the iteration of this loop, so this node. Then I just set the name. At first I had other layers, but I just ended up using the height. So if we have a look on each iteration, we have a different rock isolated. So in this case I only have 4, so that's fine. Okay, now what's next? So as I told you, I import those layers and do a geo to layer and extract all the variations. So now they live on cops as a layer. So they are not, because in here they are still geometry since I did it in a subnet. So I bring all the, so I'm not visualizing this. Okay. I bring them into cops with the geo to layer. Then I do a cable pack and I feed that to the stem cops. And that kind of works, and I can play with the variation. So in this case I only have 4, I set it to 4, to random, and play. But this works fine for these more systematic materials. But as soon as I want to add variation, as you can see, it completely breaks. And again, I'm not very experienced with procedural materials, but I had to dig deeper to find a solution. So what I ended up doing was importing the same rocks, geo to layer as always, cable pack, then I make sure they don't tile, and then I cable renamed it to shape, which will feed the special ports in the OpenCL nodes or any other nodes in COPS that support these ears. I'm not sure what they are cables anyways. So I bring them and I stamp them manually with this custom stamping that I did it. I called it Stamp It. It's not a tool, it's just something I built for this. And basically this is a bunch of points that I bring from SOPs with a transform attribute, 4x4 transform, so a matrix 4, and I iterate over all the points, and then I manipulate the UVs with my transform, and finally stamp it with the image sample. So that's basically it, and the idea I wanted to show you, and by the way, these, as soon as I place a layer properties, these will tile, as you can see. And it's not as easy as it seems to make it tile, but I will show you how I did it with these points. So this is just a bunch of points at the origin, 100 points to be specific, that will make it stamp the points in here. So right now they don't tile, but as soon as I place a layer properties with wrap, it tiles. So let's look at those points at the SOP. So as you can see, it's a bit of a work, but basically we end up with this tile visualization. As you can see, they tile. What did I do in here? So I bring my variations with a trace node from that mask we created, and I enumerate them to have a class attribute, so like a variant attribute. So each rock has a different variant. All right, then I generate a grid. In this case, I chose 10 by 10, so 100 points with point generate, create an index, because we will use it later, and then I gridify it with this wrangle. This way, with the wrangle, I can set a column and a row attribute, and as you can see, they are in the middle of the grid points, of the grid landmarks, so they are not exactly at 1 and -1. Then I create an attribute from pieces to create a variant attribute, like we do with a copy to point. So I basically enumerate them here, and then do a random variation in here with the class. So the class 4 will have a bunch of points, the class 2 another set of points, and so on. So as you can see from here, so from 0 to 3. That's simple. Then I create a piece scale and some random attributes like normal and up to instance some points. But at this point, they all go over each other because I placed this attribute noise to give it some variation and whatnot. But I will, on purpose, disable this node in here where I match the attributes to make it tile, and we will come back to it later. So what I do then is to pack this geometry and do a relax. And this will relax based on the p-scale we set in here. So in here I did a random p-scale. As you can see, I can change it and whatnot, and this will always relax them. So I do this point relax. Then I apply some noise and I match the attributes again. So then it breaks. Okay, that's fine. Okay, they break because I don't have this custom attribute in here, of course. Sorry about that. I was just pausing the video and thinking my life choices right now. So don't worry. As you see, if we don't have these match attributes, it will break the tiling. So this is just a preview of the tiling, so I can make sure it tiles. So as you can see, you see the workflow. We relax the points and now we have these, they apart from each other and they don't overlap anymore. And we still can apply a small noise to make it a bit more, to give it a bit more variation. So that's how I'm doing it. Okay, let's look at what makes it tile. So basically, I take, in here we have the points, and we need to match these attributes, the orientation attributes, the variant attributes, and the position of those points to this column, from this column to this column, and from this row to this row, and also the corners. So, and that's what I'm doing in here. I have a function called copy attributes that basically will copy from one to another. And then it's just a matter of matching. So if the column ID is columns -1, so the last one, we create a source, which in this case I just take the point number and subtract the last column, so cols -1, which is 9, and we go back to the first column. So we want to copy from this, and we do the same for all the columns. And I also create some groups in here. So that's how I match the different attributes. And when we copy, when we copy, there will be tiling, as you can see. Of course, this is a bit too uniform, and it might be visible on the tiling if you tile it too much, but then again, there are other techniques to solve that. So I can actually show you how I created the transform attribute, because as a challenge, and yeah, mostly as a challenge, I wanted to have just a bunch of points in the center and stamp those points. So how did I create that transform attribute? So after matching the position again in here, very similar to what we did in the match attributes, because I introduced some noise and it would break a bit the tiling, so I just did it again. Then I am measuring the area for the scaling, so I can match the scale. So measuring the area by piece, promoting the position to a centroid, so I can have a center point for each piece based on the index. The index is just in here each individual rock that we have in here, not the variant, so it's just like a class attribute. Then I measure the gradient of the UVs, and that's what I'm using to feed in the transform attribute. So if you look at these gradients, so where do I have that? How is it called? UVX. So UVX, and I need to set it as a vector. So it's just a vector pointing in the x-axis of the UVs, and I do the same for the y-axis, so this. And since we have two stable vectors, we can create a transform attribute. Here I'm just calculating the scale factor from the original pieces that are this size to the new pieces that we have in here. In here I'm just building the transform, as you can see. So taking those vectors and creating a matrix with a 4x4 matrix. So I just normalize the vectors, get the pivot to do the translation, and as always, you do the scale, you do the rotation, and then you do the translation. And I also saved those as a matrix and one the pivot. Then I extracted the points in a point wrangle and transfer the attributes. And I do the same on this side. So on this side, we have just a copy to points. I move them to the center, so by subtracting the centroid. Then I do the same measurements and create the transform the same way. This one is simple because it's just this could be easily an identity matrix, so I'm just doing it this way. Then I extract the points, and as you can see, they are at the middle, and then I can save the matrix by reading the same one from this input. No, sorry, I have the points in here with the matrix, then I do a difference matrix, which is just the one inverted by multiplying an inverted matrix by the current matrix. In this case, it won't make much difference because this one is just an identity matrix. So I just do that, and then I saved it as a transform. And if I preview and I object merge all at the top, so these original shapes, so these are just 4 shapes that we have in here, I just move them to the center so I can easily apply the transform. And if we copy the points with that transform attribute, we should have the same result in here as we have in here, as you can see. So they are in the same position because I'm saving these as transform attributes. Again, I did the scaling, I did the translation by the centroid, and I did the rotation with those vectors from the UVs. In this case, it was easy to create the transform attribute because I could just use the UVs. Okay, guys, that's basically it. As you can see, it tiles perfectly. And if I come in here, you can see how it works. And if I enable this, let me go back to this transform, and I can play in here with the noise, the same in here, as you can see. Of course, this is not especially too randomized, but you know, that's the best I could do. Maybe you have another idea, and now I have this problem that Houdini starts to have this time dependency. What I usually do is just to disable one of the nodes, and now it works. Yeah, guys, that's basically it. Then I apply a few more effects. I bought this plugin from Copstance, I think that's the name. That's just 20 something euros. But you have these substance designer nodes to apply slope blurs and whatnot. And I'm just gonna warn you that if you open this file on Patreon, you will have maybe a problem with these specific nodes. But again, the same workflow, the sops workflow and everything will be there, so you can have a look. Okay, guys, I admit this is a rabbit hole and probably it's just over your head, but I try to explain it as much as I could. Hopefully you'll find it useful. As always, thank you for watching, and you can grab the files on my Patreon alongside with exclusive tutorials and hours of exclusive tutorials, all the files of my videos. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you next time. Thank you.